staff, advisory board members, advisory council members, and individuals from across the Northwest, the great Northwest Division, for being part of our call this afternoon as we welcome our Territorial Commander, Commissioner Doug Riley, and also our Chief Secretary. And I believe that Commissioner Riley will introduce our Chief Secretary. There he is, Colonel Egelhart. Thank you for joining us also. Glad to have you with us as well. We're going to take some time this afternoon just to hear about what's been happening across the territory and what's happening also in the Great Northwest Division as well, and maybe in your neck of the woods as you represent your various communities. I would encourage you to use the chat section of Zoom if you have questions. We would ask you to keep your microphones on mute during the presentations, and in that way we won't have any background noise. But that will allow us to work through and share some of the important, exciting news that we have taking place. And as I say, use that chat section on the side, and then our team will present those questions at the end, and we will do our best to answer those questions or follow up with you later on anything that might come up. So again, welcome. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, and I'm going to hand over to Commissioner Doug Riley, our brand new Territorial Commander. Welcome, Commissioner Riley.
Thank you, Captain Harvey. It's great to be with you. We were talking about the importance that advisory board members play, and we thought that this would be a great opportunity to give you an update and on three specific areas: what the Army has done and been doing throughout the COVID pandemic, what the Army has done during all the fires, and then thirdly, what our plans are for Christmas. And that's the purpose of gathering you today, is to share these updates with you and to just get a chance to see you all, at least on screen. It's been just over 100 days since I took over this position. Many of you remember Commissioner Kenneth Otter. He moved on. He's now the National Commander in Alexandria, Virginia. So it's great to have him at the helm there, and I'm pleased to be able to go into this position. Following in my position is Colonel Kelly Egelhart. The Colonel is from Kentucky, met his wife there. They were early childhood sweethearts. They grew up there, but he's experienced from several different positions throughout the Southern Territory. And he's been a Divisional Commander, Program Secretary, Divisional Youth Leader, Territorial Youth Leaders, and they have quite a wonderful array of experience to share with us. And in the last 5 years, they served in South Africa in the respective roles that he is serving today. So it's great to have him part of the team. He has not gotten to be able to go out much and meet you, so he looks forward to seeing some of you on screen and getting that opportunity. But I just want you to meet him and to get to know him and to at least hear his voice, and he'll be sharing answers to questions with me as well. You know how it works. When the Territorial Commander doesn't have the answer, he asks the Chief. Well, I got a great Chief who can answer most of the questions. It's great to have Colonel Kelly Egelhart with us. I'm going to let him say a few words and just introduce himself.
Thank you, Commissioner Riley, and it's so good to see you. Of course, I wish we were all together, and I know that you do too. These are strange days that we all live in, isn't it? Yes, Doug is correct. Don and I transferred out of South Africa, Johannesburg specifically, in late March, right in the midst of COVID, and we're quarantined for a few weeks and continued our role there remotely in South Africa, and then transferred here out west the 1st of July. It's been a joy to come in. It's been a peculiar time to transition, and yes, we do look forward to seeing you. I just want to say thank you for your roles that you play as an advisory organizations member. It's critical. For almost 30 years in different roles, I've been either directly involved or certainly appreciated from afar of the role that members of our advisory organizations play, and it's key. And I just wanted to say thank you for that. And the commissioner's got a few words to share, and then at the end, we'll take some questions. God bless you.
I do want to say that we continue to pray for your leaders, Bill and Lisa Dickinson, and Bill's recovery. It's good to see you on screen. They are just wonderful leaders, and I would pray that all of you would lift them up and continue to encourage them through your support and prayer. That would be wonderful. Thank you. Well, these last 8 months have been very difficult months for each and every one of you and for us in the Salvation Army. The COVID pandemic has just rocked our world as it has yours. It made us be responsive to things we've never been responsive this quickly and effectively before. And it's great because I sit here before you today saying that the Army is a powerful and mighty force, and they have responded in that way as well. In this territory alone, and I'll share with you from a territorial perspective and allow most of the divisional to be shared with you following the presentation. But in this territory, you should know, we have, you can see on the screen, 5.5 million meals have been given out. We've given out almost 550,000 nights of lodging, rent assistance, 800,000 food boxes. That represents, 3 or 4 people to a food box for a couple days. So you can multiply those numbers out, and that's just enormous and fantastic to see. But the Army's been there also helping spiritually. You can see 300,000 instances of spiritual and emotional support. That's a lot to be proud of. And I am, as a territorial leader, and I know that your divisional leaders are as well. In your communities, I heard about the Red Kettle luncheon that was delayed from April and then done in the fall for King County. And what a fantastic response. $114,000 were raised because of the board reaching out with the networks and connecting people via email, social media, joining their virtual table. So I applaud you for those efforts, helping the Army's work, ongoing Army's work, through the pandemic and the wildfires that have impacted Western Washington. Also, you'll see there are some pictures that you'll see from Spokane, where the Congresswoman Kathy McMorris Rogers came and helped represented during a food distribution. And you will also see a picture from Helena, where they provided food for the homeless that were in the God's Love shelter. And then in Vancouver, where they were helping with the food distribution. Over and over and time again, you will see the Army doing these kinds of things because that's what we're supposed to do. That's what we're called to do. I'm going to share with you just one little story, if I may, and I hope it just is representative of what the Army is doing in these places and all around the Western Territory. Listen to this.
My name is Deontay Watts. I'm at the Salvation Army Hollywood Youth Center. I've been here since September of last year. I was line cook, also was like a festival consultant. Unfortunately, got laid off due to the coronavirus. The staff really, they genuinely care, sort of like this genuine connection rather than I'm doing this because I'm getting paid to do it. They want to make sure that you're out there, you're doing stuff, trying to elevate your life, not be comfortable with being homeless. They help us out with savings, getting jobs. They also bring programs in. We have case managers that are really nice and they meet with us weekly. That's really been the benefit of being here, seeing what changes I need to make in my life so I can be as successful as possible in my future. Just really thankful for the staff and the job that they do here.
Well, that's just one powerful representation. These stories are all over, and it's great to hear them. It's great to know what we're doing and reaching out and touching lives. As I've traveled around and tried to visit and encourage some of the officers, I would see on a typical case where an officer or their community might have been reaching out to 20 or 30 food boxes, either a week or a month. But what I've seen as I've traveled around is that's almost tenfold. That we're seeing them do 300, 400 boxes where they were doing 30 or 40. It just goes to prove that this pandemic has no boundaries. It affects everyone and no one is exempt. no one is immune from its impact. I tell a story that I think is just reflective of what's going on over and over again. Is my son's friend works for one of our food banks here in Southern California, bringing back food from one of the grocers and dropping it off. He looked at the long line outside the food bank and he noticed there was one of his teachers and his son. That just shows you the kind of across our territory, what we're dealing with, the people and the assistants that we're helping that are in desperate need, and they're thankful that the Army is there helping them. We're doing that because we're called to do that, and we're positioned to do that. We're in a unique position because we're everywhere. We're in every community and every zip code, and we're being seen and we're being visible, and we're out of our walls, out of our churches, and we're meeting the needs in those communities, addressing them whatever way we best can. As a result, city and government officials are now coming to the Salvation Army. They're reaching out to us saying, can you help with this? Can you help with that? Can you run this shelter? Can you help us get the most vulnerable off the streets? And we are, and that's what we're doing. We haven't let up. We're not stopping. We're not decreasing. We don't know what the new normal is, except for what we face tomorrow, because that's the normal that we face. It's been a great thing to see the expansion effort of the Salvation Army, the services that we're providing, increasing across the territory. And I have to tell you this, that the COVID-19 dollars that have come in directly designated for COVID-19 have virtually covered the expenses along with COVID-19. But that's what I could say today. I have no idea about tomorrow because of how long this might last and what our financial concerns might be going forward. But I can say, and you can say, that 100% of every donation that comes in for COVID-19 designated goes to COVID-19. That's a great statement to say, and I hope you're proud of that. I can also say that the other donations that we have seen as a result of COVID-19, as a result of our efforts servicing the community, that donations across the Western Territory are up. We're seeing many people give, whether it's designated to the pandemic or the fires or just to our services in general. And that's partly because of some of the social media work that you are doing on our behalf, that you're sharing with others and people that you know in your networks. Layered on top of the COVID is the fires. And of course, I think I read on one of our reports, there was 357 fires in the Western United States at one time. That means tens of thousands of fire people, persons, and police people who are protecting us, helping us, keeping us safe. We're indebted to those folks for their service. But that's where we're at. This is our new normal. And amidst this, we are now planning for Christmas, and we're well into it. And as a result, we don't know what's going to happen coming up for Christmas. We do know that we're seeing need increase because of people just not having funds or jobs. We're seeing people come to us in several multiplying factors and numbers, reaching out to us and asking us if we can help. In the fires, I have to say, we helped quite a few people. We did over 500,000 meals, distributed over 500,000 items of clothing and supplies to people who have been evacuated and people who lost their homes, helping them to get back whatever source of need that they had for utilities and furniture and clothing, whatever it is. I know that in one case, I visited Medford, Oregon. And there in Medford, there were two quick stories that caught my attention. One was a gentleman who needed shoes. He walked out of his house. He didn't have a good pair of shoes. And the Salvation Army was able to give him a debit card to go locally. And the next day when he saw the Salvation Army officer, he pointed down to his shoes with a big smile, just showing that he got new shoes. Another was a gentleman that I met in one of our shelters who lost his home, and he and his family were being sheltered there, getting food and some clothing and some things like that. They'd lost everything in a matter of minutes. Their home was actually even bulldozed within 2 days after they left. He was so full of joy, it impacted me tremendously. He was happy, not because of his loss, but because of the Salvation Army's help. He even wrote on the windows of his car, "Thank God for the Salvation Army," on every window. He was a walking billboard for us. And I was thoroughly impressed with the fact that this gentleman could be so joyful after losing so much. But that's what we're about. That's the privilege that we have as a Salvation Army. And that's what the Army does. That's who we are. That's what we're about. And we're going to continue to do that. That's the words I want you to hear. We're going to continue to provide the services that are needed in your community, in your neighborhood. And we have since the days of March, and we're going to. But I have to tell you, there's a little bit of anxiety in my heart because of Christmas. As I started to allude that the numbers could be tenfold, we're not sure what the expressed need will be. We know it will be more than we've done in the past. We also know that we're not able to put out kettles like we used to. Only a few stores are allowing us to. Thirdly, that the retail traffic is going to be tremendously down. And will people feel comfortable volunteering or being employed to ring kettles or dropping their change and their dollars in the kettle? Those are a lot of unknowns that we have. So we're asking our board members, we're asking each of you because of the networks that you provide, to adopt a virtual kettle. That's really important to us because some of our virtual kettles can give or out improve our giving tremendously. And I would just ask you to reach out to your friends, perhaps your family, your companies, your employees, and ask them to take a virtual kettle. Have a competition, whatever it might be, so that the Army can meet the needs this Christmas. We know that the kettles are going to be down. We just don't know how much. We don't know the impact until it's too late. So we appreciate your help. We're calling this Christmas Rescue Christmas. That's our theme. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing. We're aware that so many people are going to go without, and we want to rescue Christmas for them. So I hope that you'll help us do that. I hope that you'll commit to helping us in your local community this season as you have throughout the entire year. We have a Christmas video that we'd like to share with you. And again, virtual kettles, we think could be a major source of income. And this video and other resources are available to you. Watch and listen.
You are not hidden. There's never been a moment you were forgotten. You are not hopeless. Though you have been broken, your innocence stolen. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true. I will rescue you. Oh, I will rescue you.
Rescue Christmas for those in need. We hope you will help us do this. And at this time, I think I'll turn it back over to Captain Harvey so that he can share a little bit about what's happening in your specific community and cities. Thank you for your support. Captain Harvey.
Thank you, Commissioner Riley, and thank you, Colonel Egelhart. We appreciate your leadership from Territorial Headquarters. I think that song that you just heard in the background of that ad was made for the Salvation Army. I believe it was written for the Salvation Army. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkness. And that is what is taking place across the Northwest Division as we reach out to those in most desperate need. This has been the most challenging year on record, I think, for many of us. Yet at the same time, it has presented incredible opportunities for the Salvation Army to continue to fulfill the mission of meeting needs, body, mind, and soul, doing so without discrimination and changing one life after another. We've had to pivot, we've had to change, but at the same time, we have continued to serve and expanded our services. I want to tell you a few things that we've been doing over this past year. Obviously, our food programs have increased dramatically over this last year. We have seen record numbers of people coming to our centers from the far reaches of Montana to the southernmost area of our division in Vancouver to the north in Bellingham. We have done large-scale distributions of food to various communities. We have done those across Western Washington. They happen on a regular basis in Bellingham. They take place in Seattle. We did some in Vancouver, in Yakima, in Spokane on the eastern side of the division. And what we have discovered is that there are many efficiencies to be found in scaling our services. And we created a distribution center earlier this year that has become a hub for many of the resources that are now being trucked across Western Washington, Eastern Washington, and up into Montana and Idaho so that we can serve even more people on a day-to-day basis. We're increasing our food banks. We recently opened a brand new social services center in Helena, Montana. You heard a little bit about Helena just a little bit ago. They have a beautiful new social service center that just opened there. We have seen an expansion of services in Bellingham. We've just in the process of getting ready to open a new food bank there from a repurposed Salvation Army thrift store in that community. And we have a project underway in North Seattle to increase food services through a new food bank at our Seattle Temple Core. Community meals look different. Many of our community meals are now done in to-go boxes. And again, many of our communities, Olympia, on the east side in Bellevue, and again, across the state and across the Northwest Division, we see increases in people coming to us needing that food. Bellevue, for example, in that community, they've gone from serving about 50 to 60 meals a day to over 250 meals a day through their meal program. And I want to point out at this juncture that this is possible made by the generosity of you, our donors, of you, our board members, who seek the help from your friends, who encourage people to give through that virtual Red Kettle or to make a donation to a major fundraising event. You are helping to make the difference. Sheltering has become an even huger part of what we do also across this division. We have many of our homeless neighbors who are incredibly vulnerable as a result of the COVID crisis. And many more will become homeless in the months ahead if we cannot rescue them, if we cannot help them from becoming homeless. There has been a significant financial impact of that. In Seattle, we recently opened a new shelter in the SOTO district that will ultimately house close to 300 individuals. We began moving individuals into that location on Monday. We've also been very proud to see the work in Spokane of a new shelter program there, hoping to see an even longer term commitment to that community with that shelter program in the days ahead. But literally game-changing programs when we're able to put into place not just a shelter, not just a roof over people's head, but providing housing navigators, case managers, mental health specialists to ensure that people have the support that they need, the help that they need, the cheerleader that they need to move from that homeless situation to a housed environment. Shelter services have expanded in Everett, in Olympia, in Longview, in Centralia, and as I said, in Seattle and across the division in Spokane. We're also proud of our adult rehabilitation center. We were recently able to add additional beds through our adult rehabilitation program that is here in Seattle. That takes people from across the region, and we are seeing tremendous results. Again, not in just providing a place for people to come and have some respite for a few months, but literally transforming their lives, leaving that facility ready to take on life. I will tell you, the distribution center that I mentioned a few moments ago, during the height of the COVID season, a number of individuals who were alumni from our rehabilitation program were furloughed from their jobs. They came to the distribution center and spent 8 to 12 hours every day serving, driving a forklift, loading trucks, unloading trucks, and helping meet those needs. That program is tremendous, and we're truly grateful for the leadership here in Seattle that makes that possible. And for Colonels Dickinson, for their leadership that led to us being able to operate that program here locally in Seattle. It's been a tremendous addition. Looking to the future, what does the future hold? Well, as you heard from Commissioner Riley, there is a degree of concern for us. We met this morning. We have an incident team that met the very first day. The first death took place in the country, which was right here in our neighborhood. We met as an incident team to determine what was it we were going to need to do. We would create scenarios, ask questions like, what if this were to happen? How would we respond to that? We met again just this morning as numbers continue to increase in the COVID crisis, and we will continue to prepare in best we can within our division to ensure that if changes take place, then we will change and we will pivot along with it so that we can continue to be on the front lines. We again want to say a huge thank you to you, our donors, who have made it possible to, again, not just do service, but increase service. You have made that possible. And we would ask you, please don't stop. Please don't stop as we head into this holiday season, because we will need you more than ever. And what I would ask of you is to consider who in your sphere of influence could come alongside you. Who in your sphere of influence could also be a supporter of the Salvation Army, could also take to heart the message of hope that we're able to share with our communities and come alongside you and help raise funds, collect toys, and help our most vulnerable neighbors in need. As you've heard, we have launched our campaign to rescue Christmas. Without the Salvation Army, many families will go without food. Many families will be in need of help with gifts for their children. And we are committed. Again, in our meeting this morning, we talked about what if we can't do this? What if we couldn't do this? How would we still make sure that that child wakes up to a toy under the tree on Christmas morning? That's our desire. And so we would ask you to be involved. If you can't ring a bell, because they will be limited this Christmas, host an online Red Kettle. Be a part of that. Invite your friends to host that also. You can also get involved with the Angel Tree and encourage people to use the virtual links that we have for that also. As I conclude here, I just want to bring attention to one board member. His name is Tony Dallas. He's in Renton, Washington. Tony has very graciously hosted a Red Kettle. He's already gotten started. He's hosted that virtual Red Kettle and already raised over $1,000 in his Red Kettle. And as I looked at numbers this morning, there are many more who are doing the exact same thing across the Northwest, getting an early start, getting us on the way to our goals and of meeting people's needs. And so again, thanks, Terry, and thank you to each of the board members that have already signed up. If you have not already signed up, please reach out to your local Salvation Army officer, and we will just love to get you engaged in that program. I again want to thank everybody for being a part of this, and we would like to take questions. Sarah is going to help us here. And so if you have questions, if you haven't typed them into the chat section, go ahead and do that quickly, and we will try to answer as many questions as we can.
We don't have any questions in the chat yet, but I'll give it a second here.
While you're asking questions and typing them in, I'm going to ask Colonel Egelhart to bring you up to date on one of the organizations. Obviously, we have several corporate partners up in the Northwest. Fred Myers does a wonderful job and is very good. And Walmart's another one. I'm going to ask Colonel Egelhart to just give us an update on what's happening with Walmart, because it would be of interest to you.
I think in particular this year, we need to be diverse in the way that we approach our donors and to create a space for many who perhaps haven't traditionally donated to the Salvation Army. Corporations is one of those places, and if you happen to be a part of a corporation and you can connect intentionally more with the Salvation Army, we want to encourage you to consider that. But in addition, of course, Walmart has a long-standing tradition with the Salvation Army. good corporate sponsors. And then particularly this year, through our national office, we've been able to leverage a little more time and space at the Walmarts. In fact, they've given us an extra week this year to come out a little early to be able to raise money through those kettles. And we appreciate that. And so sometime when you're in Walmart and you can find a manager or assistant manager, maybe you can find your way just to say thank you. In addition to that, when people come to the counter, and I believe perhaps even online, if you're at Walmart, there's an opportunity, perhaps you've seen it before in other locations, to round up at the cash register. In effect, it's a very simple process. Perhaps you're there at the store and you spend $50.25 on your item or the person who's there. They can round that up to the next dollar, which in that particular example would be 75 cents. And that money would go to the local Salvation Army. That's going to be nationwide. And we believe and trust the Lord that there would be a significant impact with that. So these days when it's easier to order online and have something delivered, when you can and when you can share with others, please make sure you're asked to round up at your Salvation Army, at your Walmart.
I do have a question. I think this is best for you, Captain Jonathan. Someone's asking us to please explain how the virtual kettles work and how social media is involved or not involved.
Yeah, the virtual kettle is very easy. We've basically established a virtual Red Kettle for every location across the Northwest. And then within that location, individuals can become fundraisers for us. It really is as simple as a few clicks. In fact, we actually created a video that your local officer can provide to you, can provide a link to you that really kind of just talks you through it. It literally is a very short video because it's that simple of a process. A few clicks and you are able to establish your own virtual Red Kettle. We then harness the volume of social media by being able to push that link out to your friend network within social media. And so social media is obviously going to be a big part of our communication network. For example, as we look even just in serving people in this next week or so, when we do some food distributions around the region, we will be harnessing the networks of local community groups to communicate that message of the distributions that are taking place so that the people that need it the most will get that. So social media is helping us connect not just with our donors and people who might have an interest in supporting us, but also with individuals that may need our help.
In addition, we've had another question about the SOTO Shelter in Seattle, and we have someone asking us, how is the transition going? Is it full? What are we experiencing?
Yeah, well, again, that's a great partnership with the city and county, city of Seattle and the county, King County. It is beginning to become full. We started the transition on Monday. We had some overnight shelters that we wanted to transition into that location first. And so we've been moving individuals into there. We're doing that in a gradual process so we can get people settled rather than having 300 people show up at the same time. We do anticipate that is going to be full, but what we hope is that it won't be full of the exact same people. Our goal will be to move people from that facility to a permanently housed situation as fast as possible through the use of our housing navigators, our case managers, and our mental health specialists. But we're confident it will fill up. It is just in the early stages right now.
We have a question about with the challenges the Richards Group recently faced and our relationship change. How is that impacting Rescue Christmas, if it is? And do we have national assets to use?
I'll be glad to answer that. Yes, we have, we're submitting a new RFP for a new national media vendor after the first of the year. We are covered through the end of the year with Richards Group, all the pre-released and pre-recorded adverts and plan is still in place. Actually, you'll see it ramping up in the next few weeks. Preparing for Christmas this year, about 8 months ago, we've actually poured more dollars into our national purchase so that we could ramp up knowing that we weren't going to be able to have kettles out as much as planned. So you're going to see quite a few. That should not impact our media, our presence, our advertisements. That's all in place and doing well.
Wonderful. Another question. With the increased focus on online giving and virtual kettles, share a little bit about the online giving security measures and just making sure that anybody we're asking to give a gift does feel that our sites are secure and their credit card information is secure.
Commissioner or Colonel, would you like to take that? Oh, or I can take it. That's fine. I think that.
That's fine.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, obviously, those we work with for these platforms, that's one of our first questions is security. We haven't had any problems thus far. It is very secure. You can feel safe, not have to worry about it. We don't sell that information. We don't pass that information on to anybody. And all of the information that is done digitally or on virtual kettles can be passed back right to the source to which they saw. So if you have a virtual kettle, we can keep track of that, of those donations. If we have a kettle and people use the QR code next on the sign or the tap that's available, you see that on the screen. We've done those things. This is probably the second or third year we've had those. That's obviously some people might feel more comfortable doing that this coming year. That we can track back to that specific kettles. But we've not had any problems in terms of our digital information and sharing thus far. I say that, you know, it's always a possibility. We've seen it across the country in times past, but at this point in time, we've not had any breaches, and the security seems to be very firm.
Thanks, Commissioner. I actually just received a text message to some exciting news. We have Seahawks player. I know you're a big fan of the Seahawks, Commissioner. We have the Seahawks player, LJ Collier, who has just signed up to be a virtual bell ringer for us. He's going to have his own virtual channel, and he has actually got, he is a defensive player. Did I get that right, Colonel? Yep, okay. He has an offensive player who is going to compete against him to see who can raise the most money in their virtual Red Kettle. So great job to the Renton Salvation Army Corps and the board there for making that link. So good things to come there, I think. Okay,
I'll admit that's better than my Dodgers or Lakers. So God bless the Seahawks. They're doing the right thing.
Seahawks
that's
coming.
Wonderful news.
Any more questions, Sarah?
No more questions, but we have had a request to send out to this group how to set up a virtual Red Kettle, and we will absolutely do that for you. And the DHQ development team is here to help you if you are interested.
Excellent. Well, we'll be happy to do that. Well, we want to thank you for your time today. And again, as always, we're more than happy to field questions for you one-on-one if we need to do that. Please feel free to reach out to your local leadership. They will be happy to help you too. We are super grateful for all the corporate support that we get, companies such as Fred Meyer in this region. We have a food drive coming up with QFC this weekend. We've got great support from Papa John's Pizza, CenturyLink, and I believe a new online retailer, a large online retailer, will be coming alongside the Salvation Army in the days ahead, but we'll save the announcement for that coming soon. But we do, again, thank you for your time today, Commissioner Riley, Colonel Egelhart. Thank you for being with us this afternoon, for taking your time. I know you're busy, folks, so thank you for being with us, for sharing with our donors, our advisory board members, and our officers the good things that are happening, and for introducing yourselves. Thank you for being with us today.
I just want to say a word of thank you to, well, first of all, to the officers who are serving on the front lines every day. We are grateful for your service and for being there to help others. Many are exhausted, many are tired because of these past 8 months, and we do appreciate the officers. But I also have to say a word of gratitude for the advisory board as well, and the auxiliary members and echelon members. We're grateful for you. You encourage us, you give us energy to move forward. You help us connect with the communities, you resource for us. You're a wonderful network, and many of you are wonderful volunteers and donors. So I just say how grateful we are to you. Your passion and love for this organization, your commitment to it, and helping us. You are not the army behind the army. You are the army locking arms, going forward with us, and we are grateful to you. So thank you for your help this Christmas season, for your help these past 8 months and beyond. I just pray that may God bless you. May you have happy holidays and a Merry Christmas to each and every one of you. God bless.
Thank you, Commissioner. In closing, we too just acknowledge and thank the officers across the Northwest for their great work. For you advisory board members, we welcome and invite your questions or comments or any ways that we can continue to be better as an Army. We want to do that. In closing, I just want to say to you, you may have heard many times asking for your help, financial help. What I would say to you is, as much as we need that, what we also need is your influence. Please consider how you can reach out to your friend network, whether that be through social media or friend networks in a service club that you might participate in, or just in your neighborhood. Reach out to your friend networks, tell them what the Salvation Army is doing and how they might be able to also get involved. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the treasures that you've shared with us so that we can bless others. And thank you for all that you do for the Salvation Army and the people that we serve. God bless you. We pray you have a very safe and healthy Thanksgiving and a beautiful Christmas season. We will stick around for a few minutes in case there are additional questions. But again, thank you for joining us this afternoon.